Hello everyone. I'm Suri, and this is Cremechiss's movie of the week. So, welcome if you are a new viewer, and this platform is for basically talking about different movies. Me and my friend Sank, we basically cover movies and shows from all around the world, and we try to cover as many genres as possible. We try to talk about a lot of underrated cinema, quirky cinema that is, very synonymous with our childhoods and I guess nostalgia walks of any kind, but movie style. And we are very dedicated to talking about movies that stir a particular emotion in us as an audience that has some form of storytelling format that is very rare to see in movies. And I'm really excited to talk this week because there is one. Cremechiss is very close to its anniversary. We started last year, and we are very close. The end of this month is going to be 1 year of Cremechiss, and I just want to say thank you to all the subscribers and everyone who's viewing, and anyone who's returning to the platform and viewing this video today. Really, thank you so much. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Please like, please share. Tell your friends about us, and do check out the rest of the reviews that are posted on this channel. Some really good recommendations, some really good conversations about movies. I don't want to use the word review, but I guess that's generically that's what it falls in. But Sank and I will kind of talk about how a movie impacts and what is the effect of a story on an audience, and why it is synonymous with very creative narration styles or creative screenplays, and how it impacts culturally, because movies are, now coming in from all around the world. And thanks to multiple distribution platforms, we can watch a movie from anywhere and watch a show from anywhere and learn so much about, other countries and other cultures. And that's kind of what Cremechiss is dedicated towards. So any support you give us is much appreciated, much love. And thank you so much for sticking around. How do I start today's episode? So we're going to talk about a movie which is very close to my heart and has continued to be in my top 10 movies. It still reigns at number one. And I don't want to say I have watched a large volume of cinema, but in everything I watched, in everything that I adore, and it could be, comfort cinema, trashy cinema, action, thriller, name it. There is obviously there's a close affection for romantic comedies or romantic movies, but this movie is about everything that happens before a romance, which is very odd because you would say, well, that is also romance, and I guess that's true. But there's a very simple question that I would like to ask anyone who's watching and would like to watch a movie like this. Are you in the mood for love? And to be very sappy about it, that is also the title of the movie, In the Mood for Love. And it is made by one of the most amazing directors I have come across, Wong Kar Wai. And he's extremely talented, obviously, but to take a very simple story and still, grasp you and give you nuances and details. And we are in an age of, everything everywhere all at once in RRR, where there is so much detail, so much action, and so much special effects and animation, and there is a lot of story within story. There's metaverses, and there is a lot of grander than life details, which are phenomenal. But this movie is kind of the spectrumal opposite of those kind of movies. So if you're looking for something to kind of slow down the pace and slow down the expectation of immediate gratification, and if you're looking for something that is predominantly about stopping and smelling the roses, quite literally, then this is the movie for you. And it is very difficult for me to have a discussion about In the Mood for Love because everything about it is in the frames, in the color schemes that are used, the ambience, the style, uh, the music that plays in the background, and little things that don't really need dialogues, but they are there for us to witness. And there's something very interesting about the way this movie is made, and I do not know if it was intentional, but when you're watching The Mood for Love, it's like you are intruding. It doesn't feel like, you're one of the gang or something. It feels like you should not be there, that you should not watch this, that this is someone's secret life, and you should not have a direct window into it. The director kind of very cautiously opens that universe to us. And there is something so phenomenal and so soothing about the way the story is told that you don't really want the movie to end, not just because it is a feast for the eyes. It is so beautifully made, and the color schemes and just the general environment that the movie creates. It's not just about that. It's about the concept of kind of being able to predict as an audience where the story is headed, and you don't want to get there quickly. You want to kind of take your time in this universe. And that's why In the Mood for Love is, my favorite movie. It has been for a while. And anybody, if anybody, uh, I'm sure there are top 10 lists that everybody has, and they have some of the greats. Like, I don't know a single person who doesn't have The Godfather on their list, in their top three especially. But this movie, the reason it has my heart is because it has a lot of heart in it. It has a lot of soul in it. And it kind of depicts the concept of loving someone under circumstances which are not necessarily perfect. And when you base a romance under imperfect circumstances, when you base a romance under a situation which is very unlikely and uncomfortable, what are the repercussions of it? So if anybody hasn't watched this movie, I can give you a short summary without spoiling it. It's basically two people a man and a woman, who find out that their spouses are cheating on them. And the man's wife is cheating on, so he's the protagonist, and she's cheating on him. And the man that she's cheating with is the husband of the female protagonist. And it is this unlikely friendship between these two, and this odd meeting, this odd clash of events they have because they live in the same building. They live like one apartment away from each other, and it's very closed, kind of a secret society. Everybody knows everyone's business, and everyone is a bit nosy. Like, the neighbors are a bit nosy, so they know, when someone leaves, when someone enters the apartment, what do they wear, where their spouses work, and how often their spouses, are at home. And you are trying to maintain a friendship with a person of the opposite sex under a very odd circumstance within these restrictions. And that's why this movie is very special, because where I grew up, and culturally, it was very odd to have friends of the opposite sex. And there were certain rules that you followed. You weren't overtly affectionate in public with each other. You didn't like grab their arm or hold their hand, and you didn't hug them in public, and everything was in secret. And this movie depicts that very beautifully. And there's an extra hurdle because you're also married. Your spouses might be cheating on you, but the world doesn't know that. And also, the way the characters are, they're extremely good people. So they have very pure hearts, which is why they are not on a rampage to, avenge themselves or something. But the way they meet each other and the way they start talking to each other is where the movie starts, and the way they interact with each other is why this movie is special. So one of the most interesting scenes I have seen between the two central characters is where the woman suggests that they should pretend to figure out why their spouses fell for each other. So she says, I'll play your wife and you play my husband, and let's pretend and let's figure out how they must have met each other, and what did they do to like each other, like what happened exactly. And the way that scene starts is they're basically walking down the alley, and she kind of flirts, very obviously flirts with this man. Like she pretends to be his wife, and he stops her. So my wife wouldn't have said that. And then he tries to be very forward and very aggressive and very obviously flirting. And she stops him and said, my husband would have never done that. Like your wife must have been the one who seduced him. And that scene is very special because it is the denial that these two characters have, that does it really matter who started cheating? Because it doesn't. Does it really matter who was forward and who initiated it and who gave it? It doesn't matter, because the fact is their spouses are unfaithful to them. They are breaking the vows that they took during their marriage. They are breaking the simple sanctity of their relationship. And that is something for these two characters to discover, that rather than placing blame on the other person, they have to come to terms with the fact that their spouse is the one who's accountable for their actions, regardless of who they're cheating with. And that is kind of the premise of the story, where they have to come to terms with that. And they somehow become each other's support system through that. Now, the movie doesn't just start with them finding out. There are these beautiful details where you'll see like the woman, from the apartment, and she wears these beautiful clothes, and she's so gorgeous, and she's something of a painting. Like when you see these very beautiful graphic novels and you see this beautifully drawn woman, and she kind of falls in that. Like even her silhouette is alluring. She glides, she doesn't walk, she glows, she wears very pretty clothes, but she's also extremely graceful. Like she's not just fashion forward, she's a very graceful person. And you get to see like these really cute real life um, inspirations in the movie, where you see her repeating outfits. You see her wearing one particular outfit, which is like for special occasions only, and she'll wear that to work, or she'll wear that for a particular event only. And you'll notice that like how anybody who's middle class, anybody who doesn't have like a limitless wardrobe, they repeat their clothes, especially the ones for special occasion. And you see that with both her and the man. Like he of course has like a set of suits, and he looks very seductive and very mysterious, and he has this gorgeous aura around him, which is just very I'm I'm blushing thinking about it, but he is he's the person you run to when something goes wrong, when something goes bump in the night. That's the character you run to. And I think that is the sense of these characters, that they are the safe haven that you wish you had as an audience, as a person who is witnessing this. There's this fantastic scene before they find out about their spouses, that she's kind of left her apartment, going to get noodles, and walking down the stairs. And she walks past him. And they're aware that they're neighbors, but it is just that there is like a nod, like I acknowledge you, I see you, I know you exist. I acknowledge, I witness your existence. There's no conversation that happens. But, and I don't know how this director pulled this off. I really do not know. I don't know what he did and what were the instructions he gave the actors that made it so exciting to watch that scene, where nothing happens. Not a physical touch, not a nudge, nothing that implies something intimate in nature. But it is so intimate, that scene. It makes you want to leap into that universe and go like, oh guys, please get together. You should be together. You should spend your lives walking down the stairs to get noodles together. You should not be apart. And I don't know if that was his intention or if that's something I felt or if people have felt in general. But there are these beautiful little interactions that happen between them, which are very soothing is such a, I feel like I'm using that word too many times, but it is truly comforting to watch them. Like, you know that the story is under dire circumstances, but when you think, no matter what happens, it'll work out, it'll be okay in the end. And I think that's the general expectation that you can have as an audience. And the movie kind of asks a very important question about what constitutes for an emotional affair. And we've heard this term a lot. We know about how people kind of rely on someone other than their forever partner, for emotional support, and maybe divulge details about the relationship, which can feel like, being unfaithful, which is being unfaithful, especially if your partner doesn't warrant it. And these two, I guess, fall in the paramount of an emotional affair because one, they are falling for each other. That is very evident. But it's the circumstances under which they're falling that they're not crossing that line with one another. That whatever they're doing is transcending sex and transcending physical intimacy. And although, I don't want to tell you whether or not they get together or whether or not they have sex. I don't want to go into that. But in the scenes where it is just about them interacting with each other, talking to each other, there's a restaurant scene where they pretend to be on a date, but they pretend to be each other's spouses. So it's very interesting that you think when you hate a person, you will forget about them, that you will forget the little details about them. But maybe when you hate a person, you're pushed more into the nostalgia of your relationship with them, their likes, their dislikes. You can't forget anything. And here they are at a restaurant that they're presuming their spouses met and had a date and cheated on them over there. And the woman orders food that her husband would have ordered for her new friend. And he does the same. He orders food that his wife would have ordered. And there's this neat detail where she's eating the food and, she's nodding, and they're kind of staging a date, a fake date. And he stops her and he grabs a little bit of hot sauce and he adds more and more chili on her food. She eats it and she coughs because it's so spicy and she coughs and she almost like catches her breath and she goes, "Your wife likes food too spicy. Like, I can't eat that." And I think that's the first time they break the mirage of we cannot go on trying to find out why our spouses cheated. But at least we have each other. And they have a good laugh, and they're very cautious about being caught by the neighbors. They work at a place also which kind of your reputation matters, and even though it's your personal life and it's none of anybody's business, but it matters. So they're very careful about how they talk to each other, and they have common friends too. So the place where the man works, there is a co-worker who has a crush on the female protagonist, and he is he's very interested in kind of I guess flirting with her or luring her. He finds out that her husband travels outside a lot, and he tells the hero of the story, like, I think I have a chance with her. And this man, who probably knows more about this woman than anyone does in the world, kind of just nods and and feels completely disgusted by this guy. And it's so fascinating to see that the norms of society impact the way they meet, which kind of pushes them to be clandestine, even though they aren't really having what you would call a romantic affair, but they are relying on each other for support, and they are being cornered in many ways by society and societal pressures to live in secret, to have a secret life. And while everybody has like a public life and a personal life, but a secret life occurs to protect yourself. And it doesn't have to be necessarily illegal either, because whatever they're doing, it's comforting each other. It's to support each other because they are going through a very massive tragedy and they cannot confront their spouses about it. And And they don't want to confront their spouses about it, because I guess on some level they know that if they do talk to their spouses about what has happened, that could also mean the end of their friendship. And I didn't realize that till I said that now, but there is so much about this relationship that they have a lot to lose by doing the right thing, or by doing, I guess, the healthy thing, not even the right thing. And that's why the concept of the emotional affair, in my opinion, I don't think there has been a better portrayal of an emotional affair than this one. And because when you see chemistry and sexual tension between two characters, when they're just talking, when they're just across the table and they're just enjoying each other's company, you don't expect one of the characters, where the female protagonist, the heroine, she finds out that he's not well and she rushes to his room and she takes care of him and she nurses him back to health. And as she's leaving, the the guy kind of feels some kind of way where he doesn't get this kind of affection from his own spouse, and he doesn't get this kind of attention. And this friend, this stranger who has every reason to, like, ignore him and stay away from him, just shows up as his friend to take care of him. And as she leaves, she says this line which haunts me years after I watched this film. It haunts me even today. She says, "We will not be like them." Which, every time I watch the movie, it means something else. First time I watched the movie, I thought, "We will not be like them" means we will not, succumb to sex and sexual desires like them. The second time I watched the movie, "We will not be like them," it means we will take care of each other. We will not, just abandon our families, abandon our loved ones like they did. And very recently, "We will not be like them," to me now means whatever you and I are is not as simple as having an affair. Whatever you and I have is ours. Whatever they're doing behind our backs doesn't matter. And I don't care that we met under these circumstances. I don't care that this is not ideal. So we won't be like them. We'll just be. And the story has these great sequences and these really amazing, frames, like I mentioned earlier, that shows that it's a cinematic masterpiece. It was made in a time where, like what you consider stylized cinema was not very popular. And still it exists. And I cannot remember the date, I'm really sorry, but it exists. It exists for us to notice and witness and revel in, because there is so much to be said about chemistry between two characters. Is not about sex and not about sexual chemistry. Sank and I discussed a couple of weeks ago about this Indian film called Band Baja Bharat, which is about these two, really young entrepreneurs who enter the wedding industry, and it's about their chemistry that is non-sexual, and it is about the sexual tension that is that the potential of what could be, but you don't really get into the details of that for a while. And this movie in that way is very similar, because it talks about how a person can be intimate in so many different ways. And when you think about it, um when you watch the movie, you'll start to wonder if what they did, what our protagonist did, was perhaps far more intimate than a sexual affair. Because imagine knowing someone's worst, deepest, darkest secret and being around them anyway, and not judging them, and not leaving any room for them to think, that you think maybe perhaps, not like you don't think highly of them. They never judge each other for what they're going through. They never They never doubt each other's intentions either. They're always there for one another. And it's just really interesting to me that they don't leave their spouses in the course of this friendship. And I won't get into whether or not they leave their spouses. That is for you to watch and for you to understand. And I guess, I guess, interpret. But there's this amazing scene where she walks into his room, his apartment or whatever. His wife is not home. Husband is not home. Presumably, they are off somewhere together cheating on these lovely people. And she walks into his room, and they're just talking with each other, and they're just having pretty much a good time. And they spend, like a couple of hours, and they realize that all their neighbors in that building, they basically do a lot of things together. Like they have a communal kitchen, they'll cook together, they'll eat together. But these two are a bit aloof, so they're already kind of in the in the focus. Like, why don't they talk to us? Why don't they hang out with us? And they judge the woman a lot, for walking around late in the night to grab a bite on the street rather than cook in the kitchen. So they do judge her. There isn't much judgment towards him, but of course, if they found out that he was with this woman, who he's not married to, there would be judgment, of course, for him, but not as harshly for the woman, which again, like, double standards for genders, obviously. And they kind of show that these neighbors who are in the communal kitchen, they start playing cards and they're gambling and they're drunk and they're laughing and they're very happy. But the woman can't leave her friend's room, the hero's room, without being noticed. So now she's trapped in his room for the whole night, because every time the heroine keeps telling the hero, say, can you go and check if they're done? And he says, okay, give me some time. So he goes outside, talks to them, and turns out that they're going to be there for like till the morning. So he gets some food, he comes back to the room, and he shares that food with her. He sits on the chair, and she takes a nap on the bed. There are these house slippers that his wife has left in the room that she wears, and they've given these small details scattered around the whole movie, which really shows that there is no escaping the fact that this is a clandestine friendship. Whether or not it's an affair, that I think is up to the audience. I consider it in some ways an emotional affair, but whatever is happening in secret, and it's not wrong, but they feel it's wrong because they don't want to do what their spouses did. And every little thing has like a very quirky, humorous, almost dark humor kind of angle to it, where she practices with her new friend how she's going to confront her husband. And he gives her notes like, you should have like said this better, or you should have been more angry. And they practice like even saying goodbye to each other, where she hugs him and she sobs, and she says, will it be so hard when it actually happens? And they practice one more time because they don't know when will be the last time they see each other. She helps him with writing a story. He's a creative type. She always shows up for him. He runs in the rain to go grab her an umbrella so her dress doesn't get wet. They're true friends. But when you meet someone under terrible circumstances, or under a situation which is not considered normal, the basis of that friendship, no matter how pure it is, when the foundation is murky, it's very difficult to understand why they're drawn to each other. And it's not just us. They themselves don't understand why they're drawn to each other. They themselves don't understand that, yes, it is absurd, but why doesn't it feel absurd? Why doesn't it feel wrong? I don't want to go into too many details because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it. But please give it a watch. Please let me know what you think about the movie if you haven't already watched it. And if you have watched it and you're listening to me yap over here, do leave in the comments what you think about me and what is your um, take on movies like this, which are about leaving you with a feeling, with an afterthought, with I guess an existential answer of some kind. And let me know in the comments, and then please like, please share, of course, please subscribe, and know that I adore each and every one of you who's giving us love and giving us all of this support on this very new channel. Do reach out to us via the comments if you want me to like review a particular movie or talk about a particular movie, and do let me know what do you think about this video as well. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon, and I love you all. Bye.